KCAT 97.1 FM.
Good morning, KCAT Nation. Ben and Ptine, Quarantine Diaries, the final episode. Because now things are opening up again. Even in the compliant nation of Canada, people finally pushing to go outside and having their wishes granted. We might even have a barber shop open within another week or so. So, this show designed to be a relief to your quarantine woes. Now that quarantine is ending, it's time for us to fade back in the abyss. Ben in the newly reopened Victoria, Peter in the newly reopened Houston. Peter, happy end of quarantine to you. Ben and Ptine, the Quarantine Diaries is brought to you by Freshly Baked Bread. One of the best things about the quarantine has been the rediscovery of baking, both in my house and apparently in the entire city. Every week, I go out and do the shopping. My wife is a germaphobe. She's terrified of going outside, so she makes me a list. And one of the items on the list has been yeast for the past few weeks. And what's happened is the baking supplies are completely wiped out. Can't even get cornstarch. And so what's happened is the list gets recreated each week. And each week I neglect to come home with a baking item. There's a new underline under that item. So for our first few weeks, cornstarch had a few lines under it. And now yeast is working on like 5 lines. It's to the point now where I actually looked up the other day whether I could buy a beer kit because I know there's yeast in that and whether that could be the kind of yeast you could bake with. It's not totally clear. This is one of the bad parts of the internet where you'll find people that generally say no, but then there's someone that's like, oh yeah, you can do it. And so, yeah, it's I really am running the risk of incurring the wrath of my wife if I don't bring this back, or getting yeast that won't work and then making her doubly angry because I attempted to go around the system. So it's a little bit of a stressful thing, but for a sweet, sweet reward. Freshly baked bread, nothing quite like it. Had some at dinner tonight, and so long as I can track down some yeast, I might have some more. But that's been a big addition to the quarantine, and it's really left me feeling good. Unlike some of the other things that happened this week. So, Peter, a couple of reflections for you. I'll start with the one that's less embarrassing. There's been this deal at Pizza Hut up here. I don't think it's a unique to Canada deal, but it may be. It's called the Big Box. You get 2 pizzas, a gigantic cookie, and some wings for like $30. I really just like the packaging. It comes in like this really large box, which was intriguing to me. So on Friday, which is our eat out night, we ordered the Big Box. But the website was acting kind of odd. It didn't seem to take the order. Finally, I got to go through, and it gave me that confirmation screen, but had a 404 error on it, which means that something didn't quite work. It didn't email me, so I was a little concerned about that. But I was also concerned that they were going to start making my pizza, and I was really, really hungry, so I called the location. This is about 6 o'clock. And I said, hey, I just made an order online about 5 minutes ago. Do you have an order from me in the system? Lady on the other end looks, says no. So I figure that the pizza has simply not been processed. Something got lost in the internet, and we go and get food from somewhere else because we're sick and tired of trying to get the big box. So then at 9:30, I'm playing with Jimmy, and the phone rings. It's Pizza Hut. They want to know why I haven't come to pick up my big box yet. And I tell them, well, no, I don't need it anymore. I called and asked you guys if it was ordered, and you said no. And he's like, you called here? I was like, yeah. He's like, you talked to this person? I was like, I think so. He's like, okay. He's like, well, do you want it? I'm like, no, I don't want it. He's like, all right, fine. Anyway, so the conversation ends somewhat abruptly, and I look at my card, and lo and behold, there's a charge for the big box on it. And I start thinking, okay, to try and get out of the big box, it's probably going to be a whole thing. I'm going to have to call Pizza Hut because I ordered through the website. They're probably going to direct me to the store, and it's back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So I call the Pizza Hut back up, and I say, you know what? I'm going to come in and get the big box. And they say, okay, we have to come in and get it in 10 minutes. And I said, well, when do you close? He said, 11. It's like 9:30, right? So I'm like, wait a second, take a minute, 10 minutes. What do you mean by that? You close at 11. He still insists I have to be there in 10 minutes. So I said, okay, fine, get in the car, go there. And it turns out that when you don't pick up an order for a while, they can't serve it to you. They have to make a new order. So I come in, they're making me a new big box, and the manager is chewing out the poor girl that I talked to hours before about missing my order. So long and short of it is I got the big box. It probably was spat on many times. I tried to look into the back as much as I could to make sure that it was not being tampered with too badly. And the worst part about this is I came home and put it right in the fridge. So, and we had even ordered stuffed crust on one of them. So, stuffed crust a day old is no good. It's completely, caked around the sides. So the big box was a huge failure. But it wasn't even the biggest failure of the weekend. So I mentioned I go shopping, and we live in a townhouse complex. Now, in the townhouse complex is this girl that we refer to as the crazy girl because she is odd. She has adorned her townhouse in pink lights. And when we first moved in, she had a really unfriendly boyfriend, and then subsequently he has moved out. So there's something weird about this girl. I think it's either her mom or her caretaker comes to visit her every week. So there's something off here. She has a little dog named Stacy, and Stacy is occasionally on the porch and will constantly bark at me, which is fine. Those of you who know me know I have two really obnoxious dogs myself, so I am uniquely ready to deal with yipping dogs. Anyway, so because of my yipping dogs, I often have a treat or two in my pocket. So when the dog is barking at someone, I can kind of distract it with the treat. Never works, but the long and short of it is I have treats in my pocket, which is important context because I don't want you to think that I'm some sort of weirdo that just walks around with dog treats in his pocket. So I'm going out to get groceries and bring them back in from the car, and Stacy is barking at me and going nuts. And this is a 3-tripper, right? Got a lot of groceries. So by the time I came back for the third trip, I thought, you know what? If I took one of these treats out of my pocket and just tossed it up there on the porch, I think Stacy would go for the treat. And if she would calm down, I could get my groceries in peace. It would be a win-win for everybody. So I whip it up there. And the second that thing left my hand, I knew I had made a horrible mistake. Because the thing lands, you hear it clack, 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 bouncing on the linoleum porch. And all of a sudden I hear, leave it. And crazy woman comes out, running out of her house, grabbing Stacy and staring over the balcony with just murderous eyes, just seething rage. And who's there below, standing by his car, looking like a total idiot, but me. And she's just staring at me. And I was like, yeah, I tossed a treat up there to calm her down. She's like, don't do that. Don't do that. Why would you do that? I just had to say, I'm sorry. I mean, look, I know that this quarantine has been all about me getting into confrontations with people and kind of, but this was something that was such a stupid idea that I couldn't even defend it, right? Even in my hair trigger temper, my getting into fights with portly middle-aged gentlemen, what can I say? You shouldn't throw dog treats on people's porches. It's a stupid thing to do. And so ashamed was I that I didn't even tell Sammy about it for most of the day. And finally, when I told her, I expected her to get angry with me, and she just kind of shook her head and she said, I have a baby now. I can't be babysitting you as well. So that's my quarantine reflection. I haven't seen the crazy girl since then. Stacy is now being kept on a different porch. So I really contemplated how I might be able to kind of get past the embarrassment of this whole situation. And so what I've been thinking is maybe I'll just become dog treat guy, right? Like just toss everybody dog treats, like hi neighbor, bam.
They don't even have to have a dog.
Exactly right. Yeah. And mailman, hey, here's your mail. Bam, dog treat. I think that just make it like my shtick, right? Because then it's not something that's a weird, abnormal thing that you did walking out to your car, which is, now that I think about it, again, a really odd thing to do. But I don't know. I'm not sure if I commit to that. Like I mentioned, I only have townhouse money, so I may need to get cheaper treats. I might have to start going to the dollar store or something like that. And from what I understand, you had an experience at the dollar store yourself.
Well, yeah. So the dollar store. I mean, this actually wasn't me, but it was my wife. So she's been going to the dollar store to find cheap things to distract our children with when they need something new because there's nothing new in the house because they've been stuck in it for a month. Aside from our daily walk around the block, but we can't even go to the park. So she's been going to the dollar store and actually I've been really impressed with the things that she's been able to find at the dollar store. Like books and crayons,
Lead painted toys.
Lead painted toys. I mean, puzzles. It's been amazing. So the last time she went to the dollar store, this is the Dollar Tree, whose motto is everything's a dollar. So she went there and she went through the aisles. She picked up a number of things. One of the things she picked up was one of those dustpans that has a long handle, so you can hold it and sweep things into it without bending
Oh
down.
yeah,
Yeah,
useful. Yeah.
yeah. Useful, cheap, made out of plastic. So she brings it up to the cash register, and the guy there says, "Well, that doesn't have a price tag on it. You're gonna have to go find one with a price tag." And she says, "But everything's $1. Why do you need a price tag?" And the guy was refusing. He said, "No, he needs a price tag." I said, "Why do you need a price tag? Literally, you know what it costs. It costs $1."
I wonder how much it would cost to kind of buy off dollar store guy. Like if you were to be like, there might be another dollar in it for you. Like, does he then get creative? Like, I bet you if you just got aggressive and offered him $5, he might just quit his job. Like that would blow his mind. It's like lifetime money.
Finally, she convinced him that she didn't need to go find another one, and he just scanned some other item because, think about it, they all cost $1.
Are there some things that don't cost $1 though? I've been
Not
in the
at Dollar
Dollar Tree.
Tree. Literally, their slogan says everything's $1. Now, some ones, Dollar Empire, that has a range from 79 to 139 cents, depending on the quality. And different dollar stores have definitely a range, but Dollar Tree clearly says everything's $1.
I want to see how far you can push this. Like if you like found someone's grandma, could you shove her up there onto the conveyor belt and be like, "Hey, doesn't matter, everything's $1."
That'd be
So
worth
good. You
trying.
got a new dustpan, especially one that's good for the back. That's really useful.
Yeah, well, it is. I mean, I've been sweeping up this. I've been in a moral dilemma, and I'm really not sure. Hopefully, you can help me. So, our little patio, we have a little covered patio right outside the back door, which is great because now it's hot, and particularly in the sun. And so we got a little covered patio, which is really nice for the kids to play in during the day. But whoever made the cover for it used basically looks like reclaimed wood, but it has kind of like dime-sized holes drilled into all the cross beams for the covered patio, at like 6-inch or 8-inch intervals. There's just a ton of these holes. And so it being Texas, this covered patio, all these wood beams have been colonized by carpenter bees.
Oh
That's
dear.
their whole thing is they crawl into holes. Now, carpenter bees are good creatures. They pollinate plants, they help fruits grow, they don't harm things. The males don't even have stingers. Like they're wonderful creatures.
Betas.
They're bees. Like bees are a great thing. Like I mean, hornets and wasps and yellow jackets, they're terrible. But bees are awesome. And these things, they really don't pose a threat. But at least in my wife's eyes, they committed a fatal flaw, which is they're big and they're terrifying to small children. And so the males who have no weapons but still aggressively buzz around wherever the females might be for like hours a day in this sort of like show of strength terrify at least my eldest. And it got to the point right now, April and May is when they're most active, when everyone's been hatched and everyone's just out there active. And so we had something like, I don't know, it looked like 25 carpenter bees. And these huge, I mean, they're like, if you think about the first section of your thumb, probably a little bit longer than that. They're these big, fat black bees. So they're buzzing all over the place for like 8 daylight hours. And so started talking about what we could do to get rid of them. And I mean, I'm
Dollar
like,
store spray.
well, yeah. So we get some poison from the dollar store, and I mean, but I've been conflicted. Like I know these animals are doing no harm except for scaring a 4-year-old girl, but like they can't. They're not even capable of stinging. But there's so many of them.
They're carpenter bees, though. They're not making honey or anything like that.
Well, no, not for. I mean, they're not making honey for us, but they're pollinating fruit trees in my neighbor's yard. I mean, so they're doing good work.
Which would the tree that's growing over the fence that you hate?
Well, no, actually, it's the one that's next to it that is growing over the fence, but I'm hoping to harvest grapefruit from.
Well, I think so. Normally in this situation, I would find a bee guy, right? That someone that puts on all the equipment and smokes them and everything like that, and try to move the colony to a different piece of wood. But since I don't think you can get a bee guy to come to your place for carpenter bees, I would recommend maybe going to the dollar store and buying some inexpensive mesh and maybe like some painting coveralls or whatever you can find to kind of replicate the bee suit, and then just go in there with your own smoke and attempt to move them. And I think best case scenario, you succeed, and now they're inhabiting some other board. Worst case scenario, they sting you, the women do at least. All the women die, and then the men go away because there's no more women.
So there's several issues with that. One, cover bees, apparently the women can sting multiple times. But then the other issue is they're relatively solitary. So they're not a single colony, like a single nest that I could just move. And it's just they are nesting in every single crevice and hole that was pre-bored for them by whatever fool built this cover. And so what I have done is with dollar store poison, I have sprayed poison in like 80 holes. And then the next day I have put caulking in 84 holes. So they were totally sealed up. And now, I mean, I feel bad. So then I have to deal with my 2.5-year-old who's like, Papa, what happened to the bee that's lying with its legs up in the air the next morning? It's like he died. I didn't quite go so far as to say your papa killed them. Those 25 bees, I killed them. But yeah, they all died. Now they're just on the perimeter, and I have no idea where their actual holes are. But so I feel like a mass murderer, like a
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and true to quarantine fashion, you stayed at home so they couldn't live, right? That's kind of the opposite of what the signs have all been. And that's tough, but that's the problem with quarantine is it forces you into tough decisions. But I can't help but think that was a perfect analogy for TAC. A bunch of angry men buzzing around a bunch of solitary women, and the men have no stingers. It's a perfect reference. And as we get to this point of the Quarantine Diaries, right, where we're wrapping up, we were trying to think of the best way to end things. You know that when Facebook starts having bots follow your page, when the views are going down, that you're kind of coming to the end of your run. And it made us think back to the end of our run in school when the show went on a precipitous decline when we started bringing on one Natty Hellerman at the end to do our Political Friday segments. So we thought the only fitting way to end the show would be to throw up the Nat signal and summon once again our dear friend Natty Hellerman. Natty, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ben, so much. And I may not kill as many bees as you guys do, but at least it's good to hear that I kill some shows, at least. Thank you for that. Nice words. I'd also like your listeners, not viewers, but listeners, to know I'm not doing this out of greed. All the money that you're paying me, I'm going to have to use for therapy because you remind me that TAC exists and existed in my life. So that's where all the money is going. I'm not keeping any of it. And as I recall, when I was on the show before, I used to give the weather. So I thought I'd just go ahead and give a forecast that, I mean, I know people are listening across the world and bots like all over the internet, but
That's right.
Cloudy.
Have weather?
We're very popular in the bot community.
I don't know why you'd stop. I mean, bots are pretty powerful, so you might be able to have some influence there. But anyway, I was going to say that it's definitely going to be cloudy with the chance of dark sarcasm.
There we go. And speaking of dark sarcasm, we're going to proceed to what I like to call golly, that's a bad take. And so what we're going to do here is Peter and I, you know, the old show, the younger, more immature show, obviously being replaced with the older, wiser, more mature show. The old show was about making fun of other people. And the new show is about kind of honestly bearing our souls to you to let you know that, you know, we're mediocre as well. And one of the things that's mediocre about me is there are some things that I think that are just frankly bad takes. Now, we're not talking about crazy stuff here. This is not tinfoil stuff. This is just things that you hold that most people don't agree with, but you hold them very dearly. So we are going to tell Natty our bad takes. And then Natty, on what appears to be a somewhat arbitrary scale, will rate the badness of the scale, badness of the take.
If I could take a minute, I can explain the scale briefly.
Absolutely. Sure.
So first of all, I did also want to say that as from what I've heard of this show, your other guests have been far too nice, which is great, like as far as personality goes, but doesn't necessarily make for compelling radio or podcast. So in the great Western tradition of Howard Stern and Sean Hannity, I was going to try and go the other way. And so I might say some things that seem a little mean, and I want everyone to understand that I'm saying that for the entertainment value of it not because I mean it, although I do also mean it. Like, just,
Yeah.
as far as the scale goes, it's from left to right, and on the left is socks with sandals, which is something that is unconventional and generally frowned upon, but really not that bad. And honestly, if you've ever done it, you kind of know that it's kind of nice. It's fairly comfortable.
Hey.
A little bit worse is bottom half tanning.
I
That's
recall that was somewhat beneficial and strongly advocated by the old show.
Yeah.
Strongly advocated
yes,
for.
right, which
Yeah.
which is a sign that it probably is actually a negative thing. But again, it's normally it's something that's normally hidden from view, so it's a again unconventional, a little bit perverse, but hidden away most of the time. So that's what that one would be. This next one is obviously something that would never happen at like a good conservative school, but breaking state law by punishing your college's students for exercising their freedom of speech and their right to remain silent is obviously when you have something you cross the line from just somewhat unconventional to being sinister, and probably there's something about your take that's trying to brainwash people, or it is a result of brainwashing.
I feel like there's more to that that section.
I mean, you can all fill in the details if you want. And then the other two are sort of on the same line, but like being a prefect has all the things from the last one, but then also is added on with a certain arrogance and elitism that like really puts some icing on the cake. And the only thing I could think of that would be even worse than that would be not just would be seeing that and have it getting like all hot and bothered because of someone's arrogance and elitism and sinister brainwashing. So that's where marrying a prefect is there at the right end of the scale. And I did want to have one caveat there, and then I'll stop talking, let you guys give me your bad takes, which is just that if it's an S&M thing, then that's fine. Like, no problems there. You have to go for it. All right.
You were late for curfew again. How would you like your hour? I like the gestalt of this scale. I feel like to a certain eye, one side is the best and one side is the worst, and the complete opposite to someone who thinks the other way. So I like that. There's a certain elegance to this scale, a gestalt, if you will.
That's kind of the nature of bad
eating
takes.
stuff. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. It's a perfect scale for bad takes. And speaking of which, bad take number 1, I find baby ducks to be more stupid than cute. Now, let me qualify this. Baby ducks are very, very cute. I will not dispute that. They are adorable. But I find the fact that they are constantly going into gutters, they're constantly trying to wander across busy streets, and all other manner of tomfoolery to be so stupid that it supersedes the cuteness. So I believe that baby ducks are more stupid than cute. What do you think of that? Where is that rank on the scale?
Well, I think it's maybe a little bit arrogant, and also I think maybe you're failing to see the cuteness that happens in some of these cases. I know there's some kids book that I think it's called like "Hooray for Ducklings" or something, where a whole bunch of ducklings like walk across Boston and like make the whole city like grind to a halt in a quarantine-like fashion, and it's very, very cute at the same time. So I think I'm going to rank that as being a prefect because I think your arrogance there is showing a little bit.
It's a pretty bad take.
Wow,
all right. Peter, what you got?
So my take is that, I mean, Ben's talking about baby ducks. My take is that babies aren't cute. Human babies, generally, like a newborn, is wrinkly and red and have their eyes like all scrunched up, and they're not cute at all. And all the times that someone has, like, I've seen a newborn baby, I have said like, oh, they're adorable, and it's just been a lie. Like, I'm just lying to these newborn parents, but everyone else seems to be completely earnest with it. And so I feel like I'm very much on my own. I'm like, no, like babies, they're not cute until maybe like they're 2. They're just not. They're oddly proportioned. They look like old men or like just weirdly shaped heads. And
Some of us may find old men cute, but okay, go on.
the only caveat that I have for this are my own children, who just objectively have been adorable since they were born. And I'm
Eileen
aware.
stares at you from the doorway.
No, she's in a different room. Like, I'm aware of the hypocrisy of maintaining, but I really believe both those things. I think that my children are objectively adorable, and I think that all other like let's at least under 1 babies that I've seen are really not nice to look at.
So I was going to object a fair amount, so when you set the level at 2 there, though I will agree, or I think you're correct about newborns themselves, but even like I would have said like 3 months or 6 months. Not so I disagree somewhat, at least as far as where the goalposts are there, but not completely. Now it is unconventional. It's also something that you admitted yourself you normally keep under wraps. So I'm pretty sure that's going to be bottom half tanning. It's a little bit wrong and it's a little bit unconventional, but most of the time you wear it under jeans anyway, so no difference.
Have you ever seen the movie Chitty Chitty Bang Bang? I think there's a character there that you would really resonate with you. He's very anti-children.
I'm just
Second-
my children.
Second bad take. I don't feel that strawberry has the rightful place as the third option at most milkshake stands. There's always chocolate, there's always vanilla, and then strawberry is almost always the third one. So I don't think strawberry is that good. It's not bad. Not so good that it should have the automatic lock on the third place. I would suggest blackberry as the third option because they're abundant. They grow everywhere. Every place I've lived, despite the fact that it's in very different regions, has always had blackberries growing wildly. When I was training for the marathon, on my big long runs, the 12, 15-mile runs that you have to do as you're getting closer to the marathon time, it coincided with blackberry season here, and there were blackberries everywhere. And they were so compelling, so tasty, so juicy, that I would stop in my run for little blackberry picking sessions. And that's probably why the marathon went very badly for me from a conditioning standpoint. But I think that blackberries should be the third option at the milkshake stand.
Interesting. I don't know the history. I don't know for sure the history of this, but it seems to me that there's a large variation in the quality of ice creams. So there are some strawberry ice creams that are great. Now I'm not sure I've ever had blackberry ice cream, so it's a little hard for me to judge that. It is certainly an unconventional opinion. You seem to take some comfort from it, though, especially relating it to your own experiences picking blackberries. So I think I will grade that as a socks with sandals take.
It's almost a good take at that point.
Almost.
Sort of like
It's good for you.
Paul-
It seems good
yeah.
for you. Again, I don't know that it's good for
It's on
other
this
people.
scale, Paul Shields is just so triggered right now.
So, Houston, where I reside, was about 10 hours ago recipient flyover by the Blue Angels, which garnered some fanfare. You know, a lot of acquaintances of mine were texting one another, emails like, are you going to watch it? Like, did you get a good view? People posted pictures of them and their children sitting on their roof to watch the Blue Angels fly over. A local police department described it in anticipation as one of the best sights you will ever see. I think it was a waste of money and not like we got some jets and like they can fly, and the fact that they're flying in formation is obviously a testament to these individual pilots' skill, but it didn't like do anything for the doctors and nurses who are under some threat of disease that it was purported to help. I mean, it gives like the idea of support. It just like makes the idea of supporting someone meaningless, and the idea of like everything bad that you can imagine that someone could mean with the word symbolic or with the word thoughts and prayers is encapsulated by just this incredibly wasteful expenditure of money on flying otherwise useful military jets that are colored blue for some reason over a major metropolitan area.
I like it. I like it. I would say that your mayor, whoever it was, might be correct that if you don't leave Houston, that might be one of the greatest things you'll ever see. At least until the Rothko Chapel opens again. I haven't been there, but I hear it's great, and I really want to go. So
A lot of black.
I like black, but would also say that you might think that it's wasteful, and I guess by one standard it is wasteful. But if there's something that military planes can do that isn't like going and killing people in other countries for little to no reason, then it's not all that wasteful if you think of it that way. Nonetheless, anytime you have a military spectacle of that sort, obviously brainwashing is in place. So even though it's not breaking any laws, I'm going to rate that as a breaking state law by punishing your college's students for exercising their freedom of speech and the right to remain silent.
If they were to say like blow up an abandoned building, so like not only the pomp and circumstance of military might, but like the useful destruction of a dilapidated building, would that kind of take them up a little notch in your mind? So less useless.
That would make me watch it.
Yeah. Or maybe like blow up the neighbor's tree. That could help too, right?
Gosh,
just take
yeah.
it right down. Yeah.
That would just bam once and for all.
Okay, last one for me. I think Doctor Who looks like it was made by a child. And I think the people that like it need to raise their expectations. To me, Doctor Who is like that drawing that a little kid makes for you that you put on the fridge because you're like, oh, great job, buddy. But like it really is terrible. It's going to be thrown out the moment the kid won't notice. That's how I feel about Doctor Who. Just a low quality production.
So I do need a little clarification here. Are we talking all Doctor Who? Are we talking new, like this millennium Doctor Who? Or are we talking Tom Baker Doctor Who? Because I will take great umbrage to one of those three things.
Yeah, just that question means you're already in that group of people that I'm criticizing.
Well, I can't hear anything bad said about Tom Baker.
Assuming he means new Who.
I mean, this is really. I feel very confident in casting these dispersions on all of Who, having only seen a few episodes a few years ago with, I believe it was Matthew Smith. Is that a Who?
Probably, yeah. That would be a this millennium one, and I won't disagree with you on anything from this millennium. Is not doesn't seem that good to me. I haven't seen a whole lot, but it's probably not that good. It's a little arrogant. So I'm leaning towards being a prefect, but I don't necessarily disagree with your take as far as this millennium goes.
I don't like that you put a qualifier on it that I didn't put on it, but you are the judge. All right, Peter.
Well, you know what? I mean, after all the time spent at TAC, like conforming to the dress code, and also owning a pair of sandals and not owning a pair of shoes that didn't have neon green laces on them, I ended up really kind of enjoying wearing socks with my sandals and finding that once I was freed from the social stigma of looking bad because I was wearing socks with my sandals, because hey, it wasn't my fault, that's what the dress code made me do, I realized that in all weathers and temperatures that were below about 70 degrees, wearing socks with sandals is really comfortable and it feels great. I regularly wear socks with my sandals now, especially now that I'm teaching virtually and my students can't see my shoes. So I think it is just an excellent choice that everyone should be doing.
All right, so I know it looks like there's an obvious answer here. However, a lot of people find something very sexual about feet, and I think you people know ankles, for example. And then the fact that if you're wearing socks with sandals, they're both covered, so you can't see it, but only by the one undergarment, so it's tantalizing. And then also there's a strap involved, at least one strap. So I think pretty clearly this must be somewhat similar to marrying a prefect. So I'm going to rate this as a marrying a prefect.
It is kind of a deviant move. I don't know what it is. I can't defend why it is, but it is. Well, yeah, and that's the problem with some of these takes, right? You can take a bad take, and if you massage it enough, you can kind of blend it into a good take. And that, as most things do, as we've seen over the past 6 weeks, got me thinking about TAC and how there were some people that just kind of naturally blend together. So this week, in this edition of Beat Pete, we're going to play a game called TAbomination, a TAC abomination, which is the combination of two people into one face. So let's get started. Two warriors enter. The 2 and 3 Ptine, a chance to go 500 for the show, and the Friday closer, the show destroyer, Natty Hellerman himself. Welcome aboard, Natty, for the game. The way this game works is I will give you hints, and I will say that these are actually some of the best hints that I've ever come up with. I think you will actually find them to be very good hints. and also some incredible Photoshop work. So the hint here would be these two people are from the class of 04 and the class of 06. People would always clarify with you which one you were talking about. It was incredibly annoying. And I'm really happy now that they both have different names. I will then expose the picture. Whoever thinks they have it first will say their name, right? So I would say Ben. And looking at the picture, I would say, well, clearly this is Bridget McCarthy and Brigid McCarthy. Which one are you talking about, Bridget or Brigid? In this case, I'm talking about both Bridget and Brigid. So that would be the points. Points number 1 would be just guessing the right characters of the people. And then points number 2 would be guessing or getting close to what the combination of the name will be. Now, I have chosen people that you all should know, people from your class. So I guess that's not a guarantee, but they're fairly prominent people from your class. So I'm optimistic that you'll get them. There are a few people that are not from your class, but let's have a go at it. Peter versus Nat, let's get started. Both are in the class of 09. Once in class together, they did not get along. It was so bad, it was brought up in both Don Rags. One person is the friendliest person in the class, and one person is the least friendly person in the class. All right, class of 09, one class below you. Floor is now open.
I'm going to be really bad at this game, for the record, because I haven't been on Facebook in a decade. So I thought what I might do with the title TAbomination is actually just name the demon that it most reminds me of.
Okay. Are you volunteering to answer the question? Is that a
well, yeah, with the demon that it most reminds me of, and then the TACer who I'm not going to, for legal purposes, I won't say they are possessed or have ever been possessed by this demon, but if they were to be possessed, it would probably be by this demon.
All right. So what's your guess?
I don't know if I have anyone from the class of 09.
Peter, any guesses?
Peter, you got this one?
I want to say is the left eye Patrick Ryland.
Abomination is not going well.
This is so difficult. I don't know. I can't.
And
I don't
Ben
recognize.
Milton. Ben Milton.
Oh, Ben Milton.
Oh,
yeah,
that's a solid
you're
guess.
right.
Yeah.
It's Ben Milton on the right side.
Yeah,
I
okay.
agree. I mean, that's that looks good.
All right, so you both
the overall picture reminds me of a fish, so I'm pretty sure it was also of the demon Paimon. If you read the Lesser Key of Solomon, you'll see where I'm getting my sources from, but I would say that the fish demon who has control of fish is Paimon, so that is my guess, as well as Ben Milton.
All right, so this is the Sam Nami, Sam Almeida and Tommy Tsunami combined, which now you probably see it, right? Now it makes sense.
Yeah.
So really terrible guesses, but they were in class together freshman year, which does include reading the Bible, which has lots of idols and false gods in it. So I'm going to award Natty a half a point. All right, so
that's the fewest points ever awarded in a round of BP.
That might actually take the game. I don't know. I was a little more optimistic about this, but maybe we should have done it differently. All right, next class. Class of 08 and the class of 2010. People always said they looked alike, and they would poo-poo it and get really offended. 08 was a prefect from your class. 2010 was the it girl of that class. So, who wants it?
Definitely the demon Vipar, who is also a mermaid.
So 2010 is Kitty Gaffney, and 2008. I can't say.
This is your class.
Is
the people that were oppressing you with their songs?
No, the hair is confusing me. Oh my god!
Who do people say Kitty Gaffney always looked like?
No clue.
The other
say no. We'll say Meckley. No, but she wasn't in our class anyway. I'm going to say Paula Graham and Katie Gaffney.
All right. This TAbomination is J.D. Geyer, Katie Gaffney, and Jenny Sawyer. People always say Katie Gaffney and Jenny Sawyer look the same. Come on, you people. But Peter, you got one of it, so that is a full point.
Oh,
now we are 1 point to a half a point. Moving on to the next round, which hopefully these clues will get better for you. Class of 07 and class of 08. The 07 member was an all-campus smoker. The 08 was an all-campus baller. Both of them had scandal-laden first runs at love. One of them ended up married, the other one not. Who is this TAbomination? I'm now seeing why people said this is the lowest form of humor.
I love the shirt, though. The shirt is good.
I'm going to guess half of it is marked based on the shirt. I don't know which half. What on earth?
So I would go with given that,
Can't be
yeah,
right.
the shirt is
Can't
of
be right.
someone who would love Star Wars. So I would say that this is the Witch of Endor. That's my guess, is the Witch of Endor.
Okay.
Um,
I thought the hints were so good. I'm so sad.
they're so not good. I don't remember the scandals.
It's also
I
probably
could see.
Will Saki is the one who allegedly might have been possessed by the
No,
Witch of
no.
Endor.
I'm gonna say the 07 is Connell, and I'm hoping that's the right side. And the left side is I don't even recognize this person. Because obviously the left side is the dominant one that the background is with. Balding?
You're overthinking it, Peter.
Okay, we'll just say Mark and Connell. But I don't. Wow.
All right. So you say Mark and Connell. Natty said Saki and some demon.
The Witch of Endor.
And this is actually Evan William Sunkel, the 2.5. So it's a combination of Evan Dunkel and Eli William Saki, the third. So that's a full point for Natty. That was really good deciphering. So now Natty is now up 1.5 points to 1 point, but still plenty of time to go. This next cameo,
Really?
both
Okay.
class of 08. One is now a nun. One is an occupational therapist. Together, they form the name of a football player that I really like. I might have to edit this entire game out. This one should be easy. Anyone who watched football with me will know the answer to this. It was my favorite player back in college.
Okay, so I do know. I need to find a demon for this too, because that's my thing. But Gwyneth Owen has got to be half of it.
Oh, you're right. Wow. Yeah.
Is there a Carol in our class?
You're overthinking it.
Okay, so it's actually T.O. then. Must be.
No, I was gonna say that. It's
Oh,
yeah. Oh my gosh.
T.O.
Oh my
and
gosh.
Teresa O'Reilly and Gwyneth Owen. That is a 2-pointer for Natty for the almost insurmountable lead.
Oh my gosh.
Don't worry, I'll guess pure demons from here on out, I promise.
3.5 to 1. Moving on to the next one. Both the class of 08, and don't you forget about them having a Breakfast Club poster in their room. And they were the rare 4-year roommate combo. Who is this TAbomination?
Okay, so this is definitely Pachamama, the demon of fertility. And if it was going to possess anyone, that would be Gabriel Oriana.
No, I was gonna say it's Mark and Gabe. Come on, it's Mark and Gabe.
All right, so I will award
Give me
Peter
points.
full
Come on.
points for saying
Thank
the
you.
combination. This is Mabe Oriana, Gabe Oriana, and Mark McLean. So, in the interest of full points awarded, that means that each of you now are staying at 4. It's anyone's game. So the next clue, which is class of 08, class of 09. One was the tallest girl on campus. One was the shortest girl on campus. One is now a nurse. One is an actress. Who is this TAbomination?
Sasha and what was the name of the
I told you I'd get the answer.
Well, you can get the answer. It's a competition.
Sasha's half of it. Sasha's half of it. Who was the tallest girl on campus? No. I actually I can think of someone. No, but class of Cecilia something.
Cecilia Lemon?
No.
Is that what you're thinking of?
That is who I'm thinking of. But was she super tall? I don't remember.
She's also not in your class. This is class of 08. Your class.
Was Sasha a year behind us?
Oh man.
Okay. Oh.
Well,
Tallest
okay.
girl.
Natty, do you know the answer? You can steal.
I will in a second.
No, I have half of it. What do you mean I will in a second? It sounds like you're cheating. I have half of this. We'll just say Paula Grimm because she's probably a nurse.
The second time you've chosen Paula Grimm as an option.
Yep.
All right, Natty, do you know the combination?
I should, if I was looking at the wrong place. So give me a second.
You're frantically looking through Facebook.
I just don't know.
Who's tall? Who's tall? Who's tall?
I know who it is. I just can't remember her name because I'm bad with names.
Me too. You should have picked a better.
If I give you the first name, can you get the last name?
Yes.
Probably.
Me
His
too.
name was Claire.
Hoonhound.
Hoonhound is right. Yeah.
Sarah Hoonyak, Sasa Bunyak, and Clara Hoonhound. Wow. So I don't really know how to award this. I guess I'll give Peter a point. I'll give Natty a 1.5 because you kind of knew it. So that takes us to 5 to 5.5, taking us to the final question. Now this one, I will have to ask you guys to say your name because first one gets the answer, and I think it'll be the easiest one. This group 0708, live, raw, and banned from the coffee shop. Who is this TAbomination?
Ben and Ptine.
And in true form and fashion, pulling away at the very end with a full 2-pointer, one Peter Turrentine, 7 to 5.5. Congratulations, Peter. You are our winner, taking you to a 6-show record of 3-3.
Perfectly mediocre.
Yeah, that's right. That's what we aim for here. That's the whole aim of this show. Natty, I'm sorry to say that you weren't successful, but there will be some nice parting gifts for you. Thank you for judging and playing. Wish you well. But
Thank you.
now,
It was a pleasure.
so now, friends, as we come to the end, a simple goodbye. I think what we intended to do is to come back and give you a show that was older, wiser, more mature. Really, mostly just being bored. Now work is getting busy again. Also, I just didn't want the lasting legacy of the show to be bottom half tanning, which seemed to be what everyone kind of remembered. And I'm not sure that this run of shows will eliminate that. But for those of you who have chosen to go on this journey with us, I thank you. And I say adieu. And Peter.
Thanks for listening, y'all.
All right, everyone out there in KCAT Nation.
Take forever. Or at least until there's another pandemic.
Gonna listen to Ben and Ptine tonight. I'm gonna let them say their fill. And now that they're older, I hope they don't sit around talking about college, but they probably will. Glory days, they'll pass you by. Glory days, on a campus so dry. Glory days, glory days. They're just sitting around trying to recapture a little of the glory of. But time slips away and leaves you with nothing, mister, but boring stories of glory days. They'll pass you by, glory days. We never even got high, glory